Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Mindset Elevation Coach Linda Joy. Can you believe the show is celebrating 10 years of inspiring women to live their best lives? I also have some exciting news that I am so passionate about. In April, on April 11th and 12th, I have brought back the Inspired Life Women's Weekend of Love, Light, and Laughter, and I think we can all use a little more of that right now. It's going to be held in Quincy, Massachusetts, and we have women coming in from around the country and even Canada. So don't let distance hold you back, my friends. Run on over to inspiredlifeevent.com. Grab your ticket and come join us. I got to ask you guys a question. Does love ever feel elusive despite all the personal growth work you've done? You're not alone, my friends. In today's show, you're going to learn how unconscious protection shapes attraction and how embodied presence, self-trust, and compassion can help you rewire old patterns to love so it feels safer, steadier, and more attainable. Joining me today is a good friend who I am so excited and honored to say is a speaker at the Inspired Life event. Robyn Vogel is a trauma-informed psychotherapist, IFS-trained clinician, couple specialist, and certified love and intimacy coach who helps individuals and couples heal relational wounds and build emotionally secure, authentic connections. She holds a master's degree in psychotherapy and is credentialed as a mental health counselor, high conflict divorce coach, certified sex educator, and certified sex coach. Robyn integrates internal family systems with advanced training in couples therapy, divorce mediation, EMDR, tantra-informed relational work, and so much more. And I got to tell you, she's the creator of the Come Back to Love approach, teaches internationally, leads transformational retreats, and has just released her book, Come Back to Love. Welcome, Robyn.
Thank you so much, Linda. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you. So glad to be here.
You're welcome. I'm so thrilled that you and your wisdom are at the Inspired Life event. I love your book. I just love your whole message because isn't that what the world needs now? More love, more connection between us. And I want to start right off at the beginning. I want to know what come back to love, what that phrase, what your whole teaching is about. What does that phrase mean to you? And what do you want us to know about it?
Thank you. That's a great question, as I think a lot of people hear it and we all have our own lens about what that means for ourselves. So that is one piece of it. But for me, come back to love means coming back to yourself, coming back to your own heart, coming back to a place of alignment with yourself, which means healing the past and coming back to your true self. Now, is there a component of come back to love in relationship? Yes, but it starts with yourself, and that's where we begin the work.
So this really resonates with me because I've been with Dana 30-something years now, but I got to tell you, I was such a wounded little bird when I first met him, and I'm so grateful he was emotionally mature and grounded. He used to say to me, you know what, you don't even know who you are, so how can you love someone if you can't love yourself? And I can remember that conversation where I was standing, and I'm like, what does he mean? But honestly, Robyn, it was true. It was true. From my childhood traumas, everything, I didn't know what a healthy relationship was. I thought a healthy relationship was giving at the cost of yourself. And what I came to see, and it sounds like what you teach, is I can't love anyone else till I love myself. And is that the premise behind all your work, that it starts within us first?
It definitely starts within us. I mean, we can't really give what we don't have, right? I mean, that's just sort of a basic principle. And I think that people don't think about that when they think about love, because like you just kind of referred to and acknowledged, mostly what we learn is doing things for other people by sacrificing ourselves. And that's not love, although it can look that way. And I think it is in part what we learned, or what at least maybe our generation has learned. But until we really know what it is to love ourselves and to fill our own cups first, we can't truly be giving from a place of generosity and kindness, because giving from a place of sacrifice has just inherent in the energy of the word sacrifice. It's a contraction. It's a setup for resentment. And it's actually the opposite of what I mean when I say come back to love. Because when I say come back to love, there's not only the words I just spoke, but it's also this energetic, open space and spaciousness in the heart that is generous and kind and loving towards yourself, and then towards others if you choose to share it in partnership.
It's so beautiful. And when I look back, I can see now that I did have a belief system, and I'm curious if many others do. So I met him when I was in my 30s. I'm 63 now. And I can look back now and go, oh, I was looking for someone else to fill the love with that I didn't have for myself. So it was always this outside thing that, oh, he will fix me. But I was empty inside. I didn't have my own love for myself. Is that what you find with so many, especially trauma survivors and those who have, gone through some stuff, that they don't even realize that they don't have self-love for themselves?
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece, that it's true that people don't know necessarily that they don't have love for themselves, because there can be such a focus on the external. And some people get into a relationship really young, before they really know themselves or love themselves. God knows I did, and many, many.
Yes.
And it can feel like happiness, right? Because if you're getting your happiness from the outside and there's somebody out there who loves you, it can feel like that's true happiness. And that can feel like happiness for a long time. It can feel like joy for a long time, until life settles in, and maybe there's children, and then there's work, and then there's money, and then there's all the things, and then there's the trauma that surfaces because it's ready for healing. And then we get to really look inside and ask the question, am I truly happy? And I remember sitting with a spiritual teacher. This was actually even in my early 40s. I'm 60 now. And I had done a lot of work in the decade of my 30s. But I remember connecting with a spiritual teacher in my early 40s, and I felt happy. But I had met her through a series of coincidences. And even at that point, I felt, at that time in my life, I realized, okay, there's probably a reason why we were meant to have a conversation. So I met her outside in Harvard Square in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and we had a conversation. And I went literally probably in 5 minutes from sitting down feeling like, yeah, life is good, I'm happy, this is good, that is good, to, wow, I am really actually not happy. It was like such a potent awakened moment of tuning in inside and getting a really good glimpse at how I was really feeling. And I think I was using all the external things to say, yeah, life is good, work is going this way, and I feel good. But inside, how did I feel about myself? And how did I feel about where I was in my life at that point? the truth of it was I wasn't feeling happy. And I was really surprised. Also, now looking back, I mean, I'm delighted. I'm so glad that I realized what was actually going on so that I could work on it and heal and grow and change my lived experience. So I think it can be easy to sort of put aside the things that are painful inside ourselves for the bright and shiny things that look cheerful and seem to create happiness on the outside. But at some point, typically at some point on an awakened path, something will happen that invites us to look inside more deeply.
Yeah, and that really resonates because I can remember different times in my life and I have a family member that we always say, who's she trying to convince that she's happy? Because she's always saying, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. We're seeing the dysfunction in her life, but the words were always, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. And it made me, witnessing her made me mirror back and look back at myself going, oh, how many times did you want so bad to be happy that you were almost living a persona of convincing yourself that you were happy? And I think I did it because it was a protective mechanism. I don't want to look at the muck that might come up if I admit that I'm not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that others struggle with? Is like they don't want to look in, they just want the status quo, head down, just keep going on this path, but they're not really true. I'll speak from my own experience. I wasn't truly living back then. I was existing. I wasn't aligned. I wasn't empowered. I was just like a little robot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear people explain it like that?
Yes, eventually. I mean, I think the first piece around, it's painful.
It is.
Most of the time, it's really painful, and so we don't like to be as humans. We don't like to be uncomfortable. We don't like to be in pain. I mean, a lot of that is cultural. Our culture tells us it's not okay. Everything's about convenience and ease and smoothing everything over and feeling good, and all the things that can contribute to that. But it does make it difficult to sit with pain and discomfort. Now, in the psychological realm, when there is something really painful that happens when we're young, then it's a really positive thing that we have protectors, what we call protective parts, that show up to make the experience tolerable. And that kind of protection is, I always say, thank God, because if we didn't have that, my goodness, how could we possibly go through the things that we went through for most of us that have experienced trauma? And so thank God for those protective parts. So it's kind of a combination of a time in your life where you're willing, or in some ways, I want to say forced, but it's not forced as much as I call it a steep invitation from the universe.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, to look at something and be with the discomfort and start to do the healing work rather than ignoring it and pushing it aside, or using like addictive substances, etc., for distraction.
I love this. And we're going to take our next break. But as you were speaking, I can remember sharing with someone 20 years ago that I didn't realize how much energy it was taking me to hold stuff in. And I had related to it. It was like holding a beach ball, trying to hold it under the surf and under the water. Took so much energy, but when I finally let go and said, I'm going to face this stuff, it was such an energetic release. It really, I knew I had to go inward. So we're going to take our first break. I'm with Robyn Vogel. I want to invite you to go to her website, comebacktolove.com, grab a copy of her book. And when you're there, you'll also have the option to grab a free chapter from her book. Learn more about everything she has coming up, because she has some magical retreats coming, my friend. Again, come back to love. We'll be right back.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Are you ready to reinvent your life on your terms? Midlife women, it's time to get off autopilot and co-create your dream life. Midlife transformation guides Beth Myers and Kim Gore are passionate about guiding women to discover adventure in their own lives and to become deliberate co-creators of their dreams using mindset, belief and energy clearing, and compassionate guidance and coaching. They know firsthand what it takes to transform your life from surviving to thriving because they've done it. Today, their dream life consists of being full-time travelers in their rolling home and exploring, connecting, speaking, and creating sacred community gatherings with other lightworkers around the country, both in person and virtually. Midlife women, if you're ready to release your limiting stories, reclaim your inner light, and rediscover the joy within, visit you2canthrive.com. That's the letter U and the number 2, canthrive.com.
Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. Om Times, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, lightworkers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm with Robyn Vogel, author of the new book, Come Back to Love. You know, one question I often ask my guests, which are all women, I always noticed a thread over 10 years, plus all my work with hundreds of women. Something in our past led us to the work we're doing in the world. So my question for you is, what was your journey that led you to this whole passion project and this mission of helping people come back to love?
Great question. Well, it did begin with the trauma of my past, which was that my mother was sick very early in her life, and therefore very early in my life. I was about 6 years old when she was first diagnosed, and she ended up dying 4 years later. And I used to think that it was just the loss. I spent a lot of time thinking, okay, the trauma is this loss, which is massive to lose, you know, your primary bond in life with a mother. And that could have been all of it. But when I really got some distance from it and got to see the other things surrounding her illness and her death, I realized that there was really a lot more. And so just to name a few of the things, one is that she was, before she even was ill, she was pretty depressed and anxious, like very depressed and anxious. So that was difficult to be born into that situation. And then after she died, and even during her illness, the family kind of vowed not to talk about anything. So even while she was ill, I know now that I was 6 years old when she was diagnosed, but I didn't know anything until just before she died, a couple months before my father, took us into the car for a drive and told us, we knew something, I have a sister, we knew something was going on because things were so strange. And I would hear things and whispering and yelling, and we would get dropped off places and not explained why. And so there were things happening that were extremely confusing, but when you're that young, it just, there's just no way to make sense of it. So when my father took us on that drive and told us that, our mother was sick and that she was going to die soon, and she did die like 2 months later. It even at that age, because I was so young, it's not like all the information sort of clicked into place where I was like, oh, that's why, this happened and that happened and this happened. It took years of untangling that mess to come back to myself and fully understand all the details of what had happened. So with that whole sort of picture, I started finally doing some healing work in my mid-20s, 10, 15 years later. And then really, really stepped into the deep work of healing in my early 30s. And along with that, I had a marriage and a divorce because I married an amazing man who is still just an incredible co-parent and father to my children, to our children. But it wasn't the right timing because I didn't know myself, So with all of those things that I had experienced, that I was moving through, that I was healing from, in all the different ways that I chose, I realized that I had such deep understanding of relationship and deep understanding of communication at its best, having experienced it at its absolute worst. I heard you gasp when I said, they didn't tell us until 2 months before she died. It's like so shocking to even let that compute that choice was made. But that was those days and those times. And so, yeah, I started to, it was about a decade later, maybe in my late 30s, early 40s, where I realized, oh, like this is my work. This is my work to support people in healing their own heartbreak and coming back to themselves so that they could have wonderful, loving relationships in their lives, including the one with themselves. And so, yeah, there were a lot of right turns, left turns, and eventually really feeling like, okay, I'm on my path. Like I'm really here. This is what I'm meant to do. And I feel really grateful for the choices that I made to get here, because it feels absolutely aligned with my life purpose and my path.
Oh my God, yeah, I would say so. From the moment we met, you just have this energy and this vibe. And I always love I always tell my clients, listen, you might be in the mess of life right now, but I'll guarantee you there's a lesson here for you that you're going to help others with. And, and that's my journey too, is I didn't plan on doing all this. I just followed the thread of my own healing, and it led to the work I do now. So thank you for sharing that, because sometimes I think when women share their truth of where they've been and not just the shiny version of where they are now, because sometimes people see where we are now, right, Robyn? And they go, oh, Linda, that's so easy for you. I'm like, girl, you don't know what I did to get here. I don't mean here like in life or business. I mean here as a whole, authentic, loving person. Like I wasn't born this way, Robyn. You weren't born this way. We did the muck. We excavated and cried and went down to our knees, right? So I always love to ask that woman about, the truth of her journey, because it gives others hope that are listening. So thank you.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome. So true.
And there's a line in your book. It says, this work is about loving yourself. You can only share with others what you have cultivated within yourself, making self-love the essential foundation. I got to tell you, and I'll be transparent, probably 30 years ago when I first heard self-love, I go, that is so selfish and so, like, I felt like it was, selfish is the best word. And then I still hear women saying that. They're like, oh my God, I don't have time. I got to focus on my partner, my spouse, my children. And now I'd say for the last 20 years, I get it. Until I loved myself, I was giving from this empty cup, and also sometimes, truth, a resentful cup, because I was giving what I didn't even have inside me. So is that something that women have this tendency to be other focused and feel guilty if they turn it inward?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I have clients, I'm like, girl, it has to start with you. And it's a concept they can't grasp because I know it could be part of our individual upbringings. Like, we're all raised different ways. But do you find that more so with women?
Yes, definitely. Definitely more so with women. Yeah, I think that women have been raised, and maybe it'll change down the road because it's a new generation, but at least the generation that raised us, the 50s, 60s, and 70-year-olds, and maybe
And beyond.
and beyond. I think, we were raised to make other people happy.
Yes.
And that's a setup for it's more important to sacrifice yourself so that other people are happy. The dilemma of that, because then we're often doing what you described, Linda, which is giving from a cup that's not filled up, giving from a place of resentment because there's a have to and an obligation, versus coming from a place of generosity. I mean, if I'm giving something to someone because I was told I had to, and I didn't really understand it, I didn't have the energy to give, I mean, there's no real choice but to feel resentful or,
and then it becomes an exchange. Instead of coming from the source of love, it almost feels like I'm going to do this for you energy and I should get something back. And but it's always unsaid. So the poor other person doesn't even know what the expectations are because it's our wound leading, and that was my truth way back then. So I would be like, oh, but I did all these things for him, but I didn't get him back because his way of showing love was completely different. But I had these unspoken internal comparisons I would make. So that means back then I wasn't really giving from love. I was giving from a give-take thing. I'll give you, you give me. It is almost like an exchange, but that's not, in my mind, in my energy field now, that's not love. Love should be just given freely.
Right. Yeah, you're describing transactional love.
Yeah, that's what it felt like when I was young. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that, it's really common. If I, give you love, I expect to feel loved in return. How many times have I heard people say, I did all these things for them and they didn't do this for me. And just like you said, like, well, was there an outward spoken agreement about that? Or is it just you did all these things with the expectation then of receiving something in return and nobody knows, that you're sitting there waiting for it. And
exactly.
Such a setup.
We're going to take our next break. And I want to talk about, in your book, you have it broken down, right? And you have the 4 gates, right? And that's what the book is about. You go on a deep dive into the 4 gates. So I just want to get a quick overview in the next segment of what the 4 gates are and what they can expect, because I want everyone to grab a copy of Come Back to Love at comebacktolove.com. We'll be right back with Robyn Vogel.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Wellness isn't a trend. It's a return to what's always been true. Sherry Hone is a sought-after holistic healer, energy practitioner, and founder of Illuminate Your Potentials. She intuitively reads the signals your body sends, like fatigue, brain fog, or hormonal shifts, and traces them back to the emotional, energetic, and lifestyle patterns that help you understand yourself more deeply. With over 35 years of experience bridging science and spirit, she helps women uncover the hidden beliefs, emotional imprints, and ancestral patterns that shape their lives. Through her integrative, soul-centered work, programs, and offerings, Sherry guides women to remember who they are and live from that truth. Step into one of Sherry's guided spaces, including the Journey membership, Illuminate, a 4-month private mentorship for energetic recalibration and more. Book your complimentary discovery call at sherryhone.com.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Times. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Times Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back. Thanks for circling up with us. I'm with Robyn Vogel, author of Come Back to Love. So Robyn, in the book, you break it down into the 4 gates. So tell us what the 4 gates are.
Sure. So in the course of doing this work for the past 25 years, it has continued to evolve and crystallize into a specific step-by-step, not cookie cutter, but just a guide, a way to sort of process your life, process your trauma, and proceed through different steps towards healing. I'm basing all of the work that I do and always have on the work that I've done for myself and what's been effective with myself and what's been effective with my clients over all these years. And in the last, I guess sometime during those quieter times of COVID, it all crystallized even more into the 4 gates approach. It came to me sort of in a vision of a path, of walking down a beautiful path. And the path is to love. And at each segment on the path, there's a gate. And you can pause there, do your inner work. I love how you use the word excavation, because that's the word I use. Do some excavation work. And then when that feels complete for the moment, travel down the path a little further and stop at the next gate. So I'm just laying out the visual for those of you that are listening today. So the first gate is the emotional work. And, we've talked a little bit about it. I'm an internal family systems therapist. I've been doing psychotherapy and also coaching, intimacy coaching for many years. And this work is really, really deep work to look inside and excavate the parts that are blocking your heart from loving yourself and from being in a healthy, sustainable, loving relationship. The second gate has to do with the mind. And this is a piece that came for me about 7-8 years ago when I had gotten really far in the emotional realm over so many years of doing my own work, but hadn't really focused on thoughts and beliefs that were stuck. And when thoughts and beliefs are stuck in your system, they will block. They will become the obstruction to living an aligned life and to living a loving, aligned life. So the work of neuroscience is now very much, in the public eye. There's a lot of people doing nervous system work and neuroplasticity work. I studied with a woman in Western Canada who taught so many potent tools to rewire the brain to block and stop the patterns, basically that all boil down to I'm not good enough, in various expressions of I'm not good enough, so that those thoughts don't exist anymore. And the problem with things that are below the surface that we're not necessarily aware of, whether it's a protective part or a limiting belief, is that those parts tend to make decisions for us. So somebody comes, let's say it's a single person, and somebody comes into your sphere and they're a really good potential match for partnership, but you don't think you're good enough, or you still have a part that's saying, no, love is scary, I'm too afraid to risk again. That person could be perfectly suited for a connection with you, but you won't even notice them. You won't see them. Maybe even if they approach you, you say no, because the parts that are making the decisions are the parts that are afraid or have a limiting belief about what you deserve in your life. So working with those limiting beliefs at gate 2 is so important, like hugely important for healing the past and clearing the path to love. Once we move through those two, we move to gate 3, which is about the soul journey. I really believe that we come here with a certain purpose for our soul to learn, grow, and evolve into the next life. And so through a series of guided meditations and exercises, my workshop participants and clients will see their own piece of that. And that's really helpful because it just adds perspective. Like, okay. Because I used to sit and think like, why have I had so many losses in my life? It wasn't only my mother who died young. My father also died young, although not as young as my mom. And then I had a partner who passed away. And it's like, really? Wait a minute. Why 3 significant deaths in my one little life, where other people might not have any? And so doing that soul journey work really, really helped me see and understand what my soul came here to do, clearly on the fast path to healing. And that I chose that, and that there's a reason. helped my mind put my mind at ease. I'll say it that way. So that soul journey work is gate 3, really important. And then gate 4 is about the body and befriending the body. And the piece about the body weaves through everything because all of my practices are somatically based. They're all about reconnecting with the body, including the body. We can get disconnected from our bodies when there's been trauma. We can get dissociated from our bodies. And then our bodies are just like not being treated well, not being cared for, not being included in decisions in our lives that are important. And so that piece is about befriending the body. And so those are the 4 gates.
I could feel, and I'm a visual person. So as you said, as you're walking and then you get to the gate, I could picture myself sitting at the gate and there's flowers all around it and doing my work with my journal. I'm so visual. I felt like you were leading us on a journey, but I could see the connection between all the pieces. We have to do body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you said about the body part, fall in love with your body, and when you were describing what that may look like, that was me. I mean, child trauma, eating disorders for the first 30 years, which thankfully recovered from. But I remember saying to a therapist, probably it was before I met Dana, so 35 years ago, and she said something to me and I go, what are you talking about? I feel like I live in my head, I said to her. I can still remember where I was sitting. I can remember what she was wearing. I said, and I feel like this body is some appendage I got to carry around. Like I identified as the voice in my head. And she said, Linda, you need to reconnect with your body. And that started the whole journey. That was a hell of a journey, by the way. That was a tough one for me back then, but it's part of who we are. How can we abandon it? But I had abandoned it. Do you find that women especially do that because of the wounds of the past or maybe other reasons?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it was the same for me. I mean, from the trauma, I also developed an eating disorder, full blown in all directions, skinny as can be, gained weight, skinny as can be, back and forth, without anybody noticing really and saying, hey, do you need some help? Do you need some support? So it just was a very isolating, lonely experience for many years, 20 years. And I think it's really common. I think it's a really common experience. I mean, we know what the culture does for women, or to women with regards to look and body size and shape and, what's supposed to be right and wrong and beautiful and not. And I mean, we know there's a mess.
Always coming out.
We know there's a mess out there, right? Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for, like, we didn't grow up with all social media or all that stuff. These kids, it just breaks my heart. I have a 14-year-old granddaughter, right? And all they're doing is getting bombarded. And so was the inner work you did on your journey is what helped you heal your relationship with your body as you deepened into your own work that led to the work you're doing now for others. That's where you began to heal the relationship with your body. And that's what you bring into gate 4, everything you learned to heal that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes. I mean, for me, it started in my 20s with yoga. And that was like the very, very beginning of just like you said, coming out of my head, which was a big distraction, and very gently acknowledging I have a body and my body likes to move. And if I put my hand on my heart, I can feel myself more than if I don't have my hand on my heart. And what does it mean to breathe and allow myself to accept my body, just accept it, and then moving through the work to actually love and appreciate and have gratitude for the body and include the body. I said that before, and I know that's something I actually want to say another sentence about, because we make a lot of decisions from our heads. You know, we need to think about it and analyze it and weigh it and what are the pluses, what are the minuses, but that's all from the mind. And if you're making a decision to step into a relationship or step onto a new path for work or choose another healing modality or even choose a coach to work with, like, what does your body actually have to say? And the body has a lot to say. The body has its own communication mechanisms, right? Sensations and pains and open, spacious feelings. And so instead of making decisions just from the head, which is not, as you said, body, mind, spirit decision making, it's really, really important to reconnect to the body, to learn to love and appreciate your body for what it is, have gratitude, and then include it in everything. I mean, if you don't include your body, then you can bypass your boundaries really easily.
Yeah, that resonates. That resonates, my friend. We're going to take a final break. I want to come back. I want to talk more about this because I think there's so many women disconnected from their body and from their hearts, right? So we'll be back in a moment, my friends. I'm with Robyn Vogel. I want you to visit her at comebacktolove.com. Grab a copy of her new book. You'll find upcoming retreats and offerings she also has there, as well as you can download a free chapter of the book. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
We are experiencing a major, unsettling, energetic shift in the world. We're each here to play a part in this unfolding, not as a victim of change, but as a leader guiding us through this major transformation. Did you know that everyone is designed to be a leader? You're being called to step to the forefront of your life. Whether you're leading your life or others, it's time to step to the forefront, out of the shadows, and lead with your light. Intuitive human design coach Nancy O'Keefe's book, Lead with Your Light, Individual Empowerment, Influence, and Impact with Human Design, will help you gain a deeper awareness of who you came here to be and align yourself with the new energy that is rising in the world. Grab your copy today at leadwithyourlightbook.com.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. Today, I am with Robyn Vogel, author of Come Back to Love. And, this conversation, it just is mirroring a lot of my journey. So I'm in my mind going, oh yeah, she's right about this and that. How the way you describe it, I can actually viscerally feel it in my body of when I experienced it. So my question is, when you were talking about bring your body into the conversation, into your decisions, it's so funny because as I shared for years, I didn't even know what that meant or how to do that. And organically I had emergency surgery in 2021, unexpected, of course. But the moment I knew I had healed something in the relationship with my body is when I finally woke up days later. I remembered looking down and I had major surgery. And I remember looking down, and the old me, the wounded me, would have said, oh my God, how am I going to go through life with, slice and dice and all of this? That never, ever hit me, Robyn. And in the moment, I looked down and I said, thank you, Source, that my body is so strong it helped me live through this. It was such a shift, and I still didn't realize that I had done a lot of healing until I probably got home 14 days later. And I remember standing in front of the mirror, sorry ladies, but nude, could see all my scars, could see the apparatus that I had to live with for a little while. And I can remember looking and going, look at that goddess wound, girl. And all of a sudden, the voice of my old self popped in and said, look how far you've come. That was the moment I realized I came into integration and loved my body. But I never consciously did that. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
It was the moment I knew. And now what I do, because, I don't know if this happens to you, I had an eating disorder for almost 25 years. Even though I've been healed for over 30, when I have a lot going on or stress or something chaotic might happen in our personal lives, I have to be very careful, right? So I can feel it coming up. So now I have this new thing, Robyn, that instead of just going, I asked my body, I put my hand on my heart, I said, what do you need in this moment? Is it soup? Is it this? I just started organically doing that about 18 months ago. And Dana's like, what are you doing? I said, I have to ask her. I've ignored her so long, and it's so easy for me to not eat. Does that make sense? Because that's my pattern, not eat. And so I go, what do you need right now? Sometimes she'll say, go get kale soup at the place down the road. Sometimes she says, go get tacos, but I'm talking to her now, which I never did, Robyn. So this conversation is so validating for my own journey. And I hope it gives hope that we've lived through some things, and here we are, right? So do you notice? So I guess the question is, was my healing with my body? I guess I had been doing it all along, but just didn't know I had consciously reconnected with her, because I can still envision that moment in the mirror. And I never had one moment of judgment against her. And when I say her, my physical body, I still can remember that moment and how emotional I got when I realized there was not 1 ounce of judgment towards it.
Yeah, pretty amazing, huh?
It's what I want for every woman, to be able to look herself in the eyes, looking in the mirror, and love herself fully.
Yes.
I call them my goddess wounds. I'm like, look at these goddess wounds, baby.
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes people need to have a health crisis or some kind of crisis. Doesn't have to be health, right? Emotional crisis, relationship crisis. Sometimes we have a crisis before an awakened moment. And that, to me, is what you described without knowing all the details.
It was a healing moment in that moment with my physical body, the actual me not almost being here for those 5 days when I was between worlds. That was my spiritual experience, right? But I've had 3 of those in my lifetime. So to me, I didn't look at it as a spiritual experience until after.
Right.
Exactly. But I think it helped me deepen the whole experience, deepen my relationship with self and my body. So like people go, oh, how did you live through those 2 surgeries? And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's called life, right?
Right.
My energy and my mentality and my mindset never went the other way. It was gratitude from that moment I opened my eyes. So I think we can choose the energy that we embed in our experiences. I don't know if I could have done that when I was younger because I didn't have the tools, but now I chose to go through that with a different awakened state than I would have 30 years ago.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And so if there's a woman listening right now that may be struggling either with loving herself fully, maybe she's hiding parts of herself because she's afraid that if she shows the real her, her real authentic self, she'll be judged. Because I talk to so many women, they do not let their true personality, heart show through. What would you say would be the best beginning part, other than getting a copy of your book? Because I already told them to do that. So what else would you guide them, Robyn, to start?
Well, that's a really good question. I would say to start really gently. I love this morning exercise. It's actually in my book.
That's okay. That's great.
Yeah, to wake up every morning and instead of just hopping out of bed and, checking, some people just actually check email, then hop out of bed. But whatever's happening that just kind of gets things going really fast without really paying attention to the body or to much of anything. There's a lovely exercise that I learned from a guru that I'm connected with in an ashram that I'm connected with. And it's, instead of all of that, to wake up consciously with 3 breaths. To put your hand on your heart and take a breath and tell yourself you love yourself with the breath. And you can say, I love you, and you can say your name. So I would say, I love you, Robyn. And then I would take another breath. And the next breath would be, I honor you. And the next breath might be, and you can choose your own 3, could be, I trust you. And then very consciously put your right foot to start the day out, quote unquote, right, pun intended. But to take your right foot and put it down on the floor first. And we just say right because it has that little pun, but also because the invitation is to be conscious and step into the day consciously. That is a very small but very powerful exercise. And
I'm writing it all down. I'm like, what? Because I was one of those, before my eyes are open, grab my phone and start scrolling. And I had it. That was one of the hardest habits, even more than giving up alcohol 30 years ago. It becomes so damn ingrained. And so now I wake up and I give gratitude for like the warmth of my bed. But I love that. I love you. I honor you. I trust you. Right foot down first. Because I was one of those, scroll, everything you described, jump out of bed, just hit the ground running. I wasn't present. I wasn't even connected to my body. I was in the head all the way. So I love that. I think that's beautiful. So thank you for sharing. And is there anything else you want to share as we come to a close? I know you have a free chapter, but I believe you also have something coming up at Kripalu.
Yes, I'd love to share.
Talk to me, girl. Talk to me.
Yeah, I have so many fun things coming up that I feel really honored and really excited about. And this year I'm teaching at Kripalu a class called Rewire for Love. And that's in June, and enrollment is open and people are starting to sign up, which is wonderful. But I know there's still room. So Kripalu in June, and then I'm going to be back at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, and that is happening at the end of August. Beautiful time to be there in summer. Different opportunities to camp or stay, in nicer different accommodations. So it's nice to be there in summer. So you have that option. And then at the end of the year, December, but not too soon to sign up, we have a New Year's retreat in Costa Rica. And I've been teaching in Costa Rica for many years now and leading destination retreats for the last 10 years. And it's just one of my favorite things to do.
Costa Rica is one of my favorite countries. We've been going for 30 years.
Me too. I love it there.
Well, those are some, and they can learn everything on your website, correct?
Everything on my website under retreats. You will see 3 links to those 3 locations for 2026.
And that, again, my friends, is at comebacktolove.com. Robyn, thank you for joining me. This conversation is going to support so many women because I know it just supported me, my friend. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Grateful. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Such wonderful energy.
Thank you. I feel the same way. Well, until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.